Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a great day with Create and Cultivate. I'm Ginger Siegel, and I have the pleasure of leading our small business division at Mastercard. And I'm really stoked to spend some time with you today to talk about a rather serious topic, cyber protection. And as it says, not on my watch. So we really hope that you're going to get some really great things out of this today. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen so that we can get started. All right, let's make sure we put this in full screen mode. All right, so again, welcome to the future of work, not on my watch, how to prioritize cybersecurity in the digital age. And you know, it's really interesting when you think about small business. Most people think that cyber attacks happen only with large companies. And what we wanted to talk about today is that in actuality, and this was even before COVID, but even more now, there's a lot of bad actors in the system that are really impacting small businesses. And even if you are not a business yet, even if you're an entrepreneur going to be, I think this is going to be really important information as you think about this for both your business as well as your personal life. So what I want to do first is let's talk a little bit about the market landscape. We know that many small businesses, many of you out there are facing a lot of economic fallout. Many of you have been forced to close your brick and mortar shops due to the pandemic, and unfortunately resulting in many financial losses. But know that there's a lot of people out there pulling for you, especially the work that Jacqueline and team at Create and Cultivate is doing. But as a result of this, because consumers are actually accelerating their adoption of digital, many small businesses have to make that pivot as well. So there's about 30 million small businesses in the United States. And man, you small businesses, you rock because you employ almost 50% of all the people in the US. So no question how important you are. Unfortunately, about 76% of the small businesses in the US are already being negatively impacted, and that number is growing. But another side of this is that we are seeing a huge increase in e-commerce, a really big number from April of 2019 to April of this year. The increase in people using e-commerce to buy stuff is up about 209%. Unfortunately, there's still about 30% of small businesses that do not have an online presence. And we'll talk a little bit later of how Mastercard is working to help with that. But I think it's important to understand that as small businesses think about going online, there needs to be a much greater focus on cyber protection. So let's talk a little bit about some of the trends that are driving a lot of this. So in 2020, we already expected to see an increase in contactless spend, but COVID-19 has really accelerated this behavior, and many consumer demand has really shifted much quicker. We know that about 74% of consumers said that they will continue using contactless post-pandemic. That's a really big number. And then when we look globally, about 46% of global consumers actually have swapped out their top of wallet card, the card that they use the most, for one that allows them to pay contactless. So if you're a small business, this is really important. You want to morph, you want to pivot the way your customers are. And then the other big thing is with social distancing, we think that's going to really evolve into much more of a long-term norm. There's a lot more reliance on delivery, pickup, and alternative points of sale. And it's really going to require different types of payment methods. The second trend, and we talked a little bit about this initially, is e-commerce. The basics of business operations online is essential. And so all of you out there that have businesses, you either may not have an online presence, or you might have one, but haven't really focused on optimizing it. And we know that in general, this is going to be critical. We've seen this with restaurants, we've seen this with retail, that if you don't have a way for your customers to buy online, it really creates a bigger issue for you. And we also know that individuals, consumers, are actually looking to their online networks to meet their social needs. So we're seeing a huge increase in social commerce as well. And I know when I talk to small businesses, they tell me that they want to use social media, but a lot of them may not because they're not really sure of the return on investment. And I think there's a lot of sources out there to help, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. So, we recently did a study at Mastercard, and this literally just came out in August. And when we talked to small businesses about the way they use digital services, what they told us is, in general, they are shifting to digital business payments. So for many of you out there, you may already be in this boat. But small businesses talked about speed, security, and transparency as some of their key priorities. In fact, 82% of small businesses have actually changed the way they send and receive payments. And what I think is also really interesting is that 51% have really been transitioning their clients to digital methods. I know for me, we have a restaurant near my house, and when I call to order, because we really try to support small businesses in our area, they don't keep cards on file. So I have to give my credit card number every time I call. And so the ability of a business to allow consumers to pay in a way that they feel safe is really critical. And that's another interesting point. We know that checks and cash have always been a main source of payment, but during the pandemic, we saw that with cash, there was a 34% decrease in cash being used and about a 24% decrease in checks. Whereas online card payments saw an increase of 60%. So as a business owner, you really want to think about how you accept payments and how you pay, because you want to keep yourself and your consumers safe. The other thing, which, look, this pandemic has just been horrific for so many of us. But it's interesting, about 67% of small businesses said that one upside to the pandemic is that it prompted them to upgrade their digital and e-payment solutions. And it wasn't just a great thing for all of you as small businesses. 81% have told us that it's also improved their customer satisfaction levels. As you can imagine, not a lot of people want to touch cash these days. And so even though COVID has changed a lot of this faster than what we thought, we really believe that it will be a new normal. And that's really what I want to talk about last on this page, which is that there's a great deal of positive sentiment and increased customer satisfaction, which really say that small businesses plan to stick with digital business payments even as the pandemic subsides. And about 70% say that they're willing to invest in the technology required to advance their payment systems. Overall, and this is a really big number, 73% of small businesses say that digital payments are going to be the new normal. And I think the great thing is there's a lot of organizations out there to help you with this. And so we hope very much that this information, if you're not already there, it will give you the impetus to get there. The third trend we're seeing, and this is really what we want to talk about today, is protection. Many small businesses, as I said, have not really realized the importance of protecting themselves from a cyber attack. In actuality, 81% of small businesses tell us that they really wish that someone would proactively alert them to changes in the cybersecurity landscape and provide best practices for small business. And that is why we're so thrilled that Create and Cultivate has given us an opportunity as we kind of share this wonderful conference with them to talk about this. Now, business is uncertain enough. All of you out there are having difficulty every day. There is constant struggles and issues with what the pandemic has caused. About 80% of small businesses have told us that they do not monitor cybersecurity threats prior to the pandemic. And so obviously this continues, but we believe that small businesses are incredibly vulnerable to exploitation by bad actors who really want to capitalize on the current chaos. And so what's next is that many small businesses are actually looking for partners and advisors to help protect them against this unknown. And so what we hope to do today in this very short time we have together is to give you a little bit of this information and guidance in terms of how to survive in this new normal. So small businesses, again, if I haven't said it already, I'll say it again, they are prime targets of cyber attacks. In our study, 88% of small businesses felt that they are at least somewhat likely targets for cyber criminals. 46% felt that they were a very likely target. And 43% of attacks are currently aimed at small businesses, but only 14% are prepared to defend themselves. And the problem with cyber attacks is the cost and the impact on the business. So I mentioned earlier that we have enough to worry about in this environment with COVID, but cyber attacks have huge impacts on small businesses. And one of the biggest areas is financial. A cyber attack can cost as much as $200,000 on average. And there's a lot of things that go into that number. But we know that 28% of the businesses that we surveyed have actually experienced a data breach during the last 12 months. 37% suffered a financial loss, 25% filed for bankruptcy, and 10% went out of business. And what's interesting is because we know so many of you function and run your business with not a lot of people and resources, one of the key areas of concerns is that when there is a cyber attack, you as a business owner or you as someone who works in a business have to take your eye off the ball. And so this is one of the most critical things, that if you can protect yourself before, you hopefully won't have to deal with these potential really, really difficult issues later. So, I get a lot of questions, why don't small businesses pay attention to cybersecurity until it's too late? Well, I think the answers are probably things that you would all agree with. Number one, business owners are busy running their business. As I mentioned, small business owners don't have necessarily CFOs and chief marketing officers. You all do this yourself. You're the chief cook and bottle washers. Every morning you get up, put your boots on and get going. And so we know that there is huge difficulty in trying to take your eye off the ball of running your business. We also know, as I mentioned, is that you have limited resources. And I think this is a really important point, is that there's not a lot of time in the day. There's not a lot of people during the day with you. And so limited resources are very critical. But the last one I think is really important, and hopefully our discussion today can change that. And that is the misperception that small businesses do not get attacked. By the way, I do want to mention that we're hopefully going to have a little time at the end to answer some questions. So if all of you go into the Q&A box and put your questions in there, when we finish up, I look forward to trying to answer some of them. So what are some of the top cyber threats to small businesses? Well, there's two key ones. One of them is ransomware. Ransomware is when bad actors gain access to data from your business. The stolen data is then encrypted and sometimes published. And sometimes it's published in places you would not want it to be published. So what happens then is these bad actors demand ransom payment. And what they're asking is, if you want your data back, then we demand a ransom payment. And this is where some of the big costs can come in. A second big threat to all of you small business owners is a business email compromise. This is when bad actors actually get access to small business email accounts. A bad actor might send an internal email impersonating a small business employee, and then someone clicks on it, and the bad actor will then make an urgent request for funds to be transferred out. We don't just see this on the business side, we also see this on the consumer side as well. So that is why really having checks and balances in place, being careful of the kinds of emails that you're clicking on, making sure you know the source of these emails, this is really critically important. So, when we talk to business owners, they say, like, how do we get started with cybersecurity? 60% do not have a cyber attack prevention plan, and 25% of business owners do not even know where to start. And that's why, at Mastercard, we've been really thrilled to help small businesses get online and also provide them with tools in order to protect themselves from cyber attacks. And as the risk of cyber threats increases, we are actually dedicating cybersecurity solutions and educations for small business owners. And two of these solutions, Mastercard ID theft protection and My Cyber Risk via Risk Recon. Risk Recon is a program that we have that's actually on our Digital Doors program, which we're going to talk to you about in a minute. But what that actually does, it will do a vulnerability assessment. It will take a look at your website, your email, and really try to understand where you have gaps and then possibly help you to fill those. And the second one is Mastercard ID theft protection, which can actually help monitor the dark web for data breaches. And so these are just two, and there's a lot more information. At the very end, I will be sharing a website with you where you can go on and really get some additional information on this. But we're really excited to be able to share some of these resources for small business, because cyber threats are not just for big businesses. So I've been talking a little bit about Digital Doors, and I'm really excited to share that with you. So when we saw what was happening with this pandemic, Mastercard wanted to do something, and we wanted to do something and use some of the tremendous partnerships that we have with different organizations. So we developed a program called Digital Doors. And what this is, it's kind of 5 pieces. One is through our acquire and fintech partnerships with Shopify and BigCommerce, small businesses can actually find the right tools to move their businesses online. You can actually develop an online storefront. Then what we've done is we've wrapped Risk Recon and ID theft cyber tools, and these are free through December, to make sure that you are protected in this newly digital environment. As more and more of you go online, the need for this protection will be critical. But we also know that for a lot of you, this is new. So we have built the Mastercard Digital Doors curriculum, where you can learn how to build your digital presence through educational resources from Squarespace and Hello Alice, 2 amazing partners of ours. Now, this is pretty exciting also, is that if you as a small business accept Mastercard, your business goes into a database, and we've developed a consumer-facing website called Shop Openings. And Shop Openings is a website where consumers can go online and actually see if a small business is open and if they accept contactless payments. So it's a wonderful way for your customers to see if you're ready to go. And then lastly, I talked in the beginning about the need to make sure that you can accept the right kinds of payments. So things like contactless, getting your customers to be able to put card on file. Through our partners, we can also help small businesses address the needs that you have and that your customers have in this new normal. And so we're really excited about Mastercard Digital Doors. And basically what you can do is we have created something called the Mastercard Main Street Resource Center. You can see the URL here, but you can also just Google Mastercard Main Street Resource Center, because we believe that our local main streets have been amongst the hardest hit from the COVID-19 pandemic. And to help address this challenge, we've actually created this resource center, which not only has digital doors on it, but has a curated set of needs-based solutions and resources to help guide, grow, and protect small businesses during these difficult times. But this is what we're really, really excited about, is that, look, we believe that as our country moves into the normalization phase, we want all of you to have the hope to know that we are behind you. Create and Cultivate is behind you to move you from normalization into growth. And a lot of these resources, we believe, can help you get there. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to stop sharing my screen, and I am going to see if we have any questions. Let's see. I'm going to look in my chat box here to see if we have any questions. We have a really good question here from Dawn. Thanks, Dawn. This is exciting news about support for small businesses. What are some short and long-term strategies you recommend for small business owners to be proactive, protecting proprietary information before the launch of the new Mastercard programs? Well, guess what? The programs are launched today. You can go to our site today and go to Digital Doors, and you will be able to get some very short-term strategies to help you now. We also have really great partnerships with an organization called the Global Cyber Alliance. You can also look on their site. And we have a number of pieces on our site where you can get started right away. And I think these resources will get you started not only for the short term, but they will give you the education that you need in order to maintain this for the long term as well. So yeah, someone just posted something on in terms of another free tool. And I think there's a lot of tools out there now because there's a lot of focus and concern about cybersecurity. So I think it's important, number one, is to educate. Look, all of us are dealing with so much. We're dealing with work from home. We're dealing with running a business. For so many of you, you're dealing with remote learning with kids. But I would really, really hope that many of you would take a look at this site so you can immediately begin to set yourself up with these tools before it's too late. And we're really excited to offer these. Let me see, any other questions? This is a great comment. Cybersecurity is overwhelming. Yes, it is. It is overwhelming, but what we hope to do today is to give you some statistics to say, hey guys, you are not alone. You are not in this without others being in it too. And we also want you to know that organizations like Mastercard, like Create and Cultivate, there's so many great organizations out there that are here to put the wind at their back. And Dawn, thanks. I'm really glad I see you already looked up the site and you're gonna bookmark the pages. And yeah, I would absolutely tell all of you to take a look, and you can get signed up very, very quickly for these wonderful programs. And we're pretty excited about being able to offer these free through the end of December. So thanks a lot, Dawn. I'm glad you already did that. There's a question here, and this is for all businesses. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter your ethnicity. These resources are for everyone, and we want all of you to know that. We're very, very focused on helping all small businesses because all small businesses need help now, and they drive our economy. Question here, how much do they cost eventually? So what's going to happen is after the end of December, if you have a Mastercard, you get free ID theft protection. And our Risk Recon, we're going to be doing some bundling. We don't have the exact cost there, but we believe it's going to be somewhere between $9 and $12 a month. if you think about how cheap that is, when you consider that a cyber attack could cost $200,000. So we feel really good that we're going to be able to offer these at a very, very good price point for small businesses. But thanks, really appreciate the question. And oh, this is great. Thank you so much, Ada. I really like your comment here. Thank you for giving some numbers. That's helpful. It's cool to see how much more you're doing beyond credit cards. I had no idea. Yeah, I think we're so excited because, you know, I guess people do think of Mastercard as a credit card company, but we are so much more. We are a technology company that's building technology to help way beyond cards. And I'm so glad that we had this time to share with you to let you know, but thanks for your comments. One of these questions, are these Mastercard tools, resources, and services for small businesses available in Mexico and Latin America? Yes, we actually have a program in Latin America. So I would really Google Mastercard in Latin America, LAC. And you will absolutely see these programs. It's not called Digital Doors. It's a digital acceleration program, but many of our regions across the globe are doing this, and we definitely have this program in Latin America as well. Here's a question. What sites and domains, subscriptions like Shopify, et cetera, offer the best security? You know, I think so many of our partners like Shopify and BigCommerce, we work very closely with a lot of them. And I think all of them are really looking. I would encourage all of you to take a look at our site, take a look at some of the tools there. You can also, through our site, get into Shopify and BigCommerce and really take a look at all the different things they offer, including the development of the website. Oh, this is great. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate your comment. Jen said this was such a wonderful and informative session. Thank you so much. No, I really have to thank all of you. Look, we have a really great job here to be able to help all of you, but I have to tell you, my respect, my thoughts, my heart goes out to all of you and what you've been dealing with. But you guys rock, and we know that you will come out of this strong. And you know, a comment that someone made is these are easy things to not think about when we have so much on our plates. And I think that's the point. Please, for all of you, don't feel alone. Many organizations are out there to help you. I think the day that you've had with Create and Cultivate, and I've been watching a lot of the content, the work we're doing at Mastercard, the reason we've partnered with Create and Cultivate is that our two companies have such a culture of helping small businesses. So we want to be able to take things off your plates. And that's why the discussion today, we wanted to make simple, make clean, give you the stats, but also let you know that we have these great tools and resources. So again, Mastercard Main Street Resource Center, you can go on there, click around, take a look of all the resources that are available, and also look at Digital Doors. And we hope that for, you know, if we help even one of you, and I know we have a lot of you on today, then that's going to be a great day for me personally. So again, we got a great thank you from Linda. Are there any more questions? We still have a couple more minutes. If any of you have any other questions or comments, would love to hear from you. We did have some great questions, and I really appreciate all of you that have asked those questions, because I think they're questions that help everybody. Any other questions? Okay, what's the number one thing we can do right now besides education to increase our security online? Well, I think the two things we talked about. Number one, you want to get an assessment of how secure you are. So you want to know where your baseline is against benchmarks. And so if you take a look at our Digital Doors, there's actually a diagnostic tool that you can look at and take, and it will show how you benchmark, including in cybersecurity. It's the digital diagnostic tool, and it's on Digital Doors. And so the other thing, though, is once you see where you are, make sure that you have tools to actually monitor it. Just knowing where you are is one thing, but then you also want to be able to monitor where your site is to make sure that it's not floating around the dark web as well. And thanks, Dawn. Really appreciate your comment. I'm so glad you felt this was timely and you felt the updates were helpful. We're really glad to be a part of it. We also just got a really quick question. The research you shared earlier, do you recommend solutions that enable contactless payments? Absolutely. If you go on our site, we have a number of partners and acquirers that can help do that. Things like Click to Pay that Mastercard offers, a card on file. So I would encourage you, again, look at Digital Doors, and we have a whole piece on a number of our partners in the acquiring area that can help you do this. And I strongly encourage it because that's how people want to pay. So we're at the end of our time together. Hey all, please stay safe. Please stay hopeful. You guys are going to do great. We will all be out of this hopefully soon. Thanks so much. And I hope you have a great rest of your day with Create and Cultivate.